Namaste, Suprabhatam, everybody. Hope you had a good week and welcome to the next class of Indic Humanities. It is 7th Feb 2026, and we will continue our journey of exploring the and deep diving the Indic Humanities in an interactive way. And let us start with the uh, mantra. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Okay, namaste everybody. You had hope you have gone through the study material, and from here I will give it to Srini Mahoday to continue.
Suprabhatam, good morning, everybody. Okay, so now, just as I updated in our WhatsApp group, we had a wonderful session at LASA, and I did introduce the topic of Indic humanities and different worldviews, how we need to take the Indic worldview consistently to understand the the reality and how we see the worldview that can be actually captured not by just one way, but there are multiple ways to see the world and also find the order within this thing. As you can see in this picture, I know there are about 6 people, right? They are trying to know where they are, and they're trying to put the torch on, switch on the torch, and then see if uh, they can come to the conclusion of trying to find, oh, they belong to some place, and what is that place? They're not actually seeing different worlds, they're noticing different features of the same world. And but the truth is not found by one beam, but by cleaning and combining all these beams together to work in coordination. So clarity comes from removing distortion, not inventing reality. So they have to clean the lens, and the room appears, and use the torches in a coordinated way so that they get a view of the world. Here, you can see that the room did not come out of a vacuum or non-existence. It was already there. It had to be discovered. So the analogy is truth is already there. It needs to be discovered by various methods of philosophies, which we call darshana. The clear seeing or the clear vision is darshana. And one such darshana happens to be nyaya. And that is what we have been exploring. Okay, and let's go for this thing. All right. Hope you all can see this slide set. Yes? Can you?
Yes,
Yes.
Ji.
We can.
Okay, wonderful. All right. And the most important thing to remember in all of the darshanas is they all share one common lens, that is Ruta, Satya, and Dharma. No matter, you can actually forget some of the details. You may forget some of the details, but the commonality happens to be Ruta, Satya, and Dharma. To realize that universe has a rhythm, it has a certain order, and which we call reality as well. The natural order of the universe and the way things work, they all have to be very, very orderly, because we do know that thing. For example, fire burns. When you turn the switch, it turns on. Let's say if you want to study about fire, and if the fire burns sometimes, and if it froze the next time, would you know? Would you understand fire? You don't, right? So things happen in a certain way. The cause and effect are always, they're somewhat permanently linked. There is a regularity or rhythm or an actual order. That is what we call rhythm. And this order of reality, when we cognize and then turn it into speech or thought, that is satya, or the truth. And making sure that the conduct or the actual the action that happens in the universe is called the dharma because it aligns with satya and rita. And if you defy this order, chaos is inevitable. If you defy the the very nature of fire, and if you deny the very nature of fire and then think that it actually freezes and it's so cold, and act on the anrita, it still burns you. So that niyata sahacharya, that invariable connection between cause and effect, you cannot deny it. You may deny it verbally, but the rita cannot be changed. The order of reality remains as is. So if reality is ordered, reasoning must also be ordered. It is the position of nyaya. How does truth grow from cosmic order or rita? Now, you have to think truthfully, not just clearly, and you have to act rightly, not act in a way that is asatya or anrita. And anything in the path of not in compliance with satya or the rita is going to result in fallacies. We we did cover something on especially grouping the types of vada, the types of debate, nyaya, by aligning it with Rita, Satya, and Dharma. Vada, we discovered that there are types such as Tarkavada, Shastravada, and Drishtantavada, where the ideal debate, the cooperative based on valid pramanas and all that. So that is in compliance with Rita, Satya, and Dharma. Hypothetical reasoning to test ideas logically, which we call Tarkavada, that is also in compliance with all Rita, Satya, and Dharma. Shastravada, based on the Shruti and the Smriti with the rational interpretation that we don't see on a day to day basis, but that still happens. That is also a Vada. And and also Drishtantavada, where we use analogies to support reasoned discourses. So that Drishtantavada, where the speaker and the listener, they already have an agreement that Drishtanta, there is shared reality, and this shared reality has a niyata sahacharya, which is invariable connection between the cause and the effect. So when I give you an analogy, we have an understanding that this analogy is helping you moving from known to unknown. So that is why we use analogies. So all these together are called truth oriented debating type. There are other methods such as the competitive debating, the destructive debating methods, which we see every day. Now, when it comes to Jalpa, the competitive debate, the idea is not to find the truth, it is to win an argument. Is it valid? Yes, it is valid. Is it dharmic? That's a different question. It is victory oriented, may use unfair methods. So we have chala, we have jati, we have nigrasthana vada, where orientation is the only means. We got to win it. Okay. Chala is all about quibbling, misinterpreting words to confuse. Will that be useful sometimes? Yes. And jati, sophistical refutation through false logic. It should look like logic, but it is not logic. False reasoning, okay, which people use all the time. And is that in compliance with our Satya and Dharma? We do not recommend it if you want to pursue truth, but it can be useful many times. These are all valid methods of argumentation, may not be dharmic methods of argumentation. That which is in compliance with Rita, Satya, and Dharma. It may not be Vada, but it is still valid. It's Jalpais. Okay. And Vitanda, it's a destructive method where you only seek to destroy the opponent's view and you don't have to establish your position, which happens on TV debates all the time. You don't have time. You got to make your point, and they want to hear your point of view. It is left to the anchor to make a conclusive statement on that thing. And destructive method is always used. You can see it at the very top levels anywhere in the world. Okay, so the difference between Nyaya tradition or the Greek or the Western tradition is that we follow the Nyaya, Rita, Satya, Dharma is super important. It's rooted in it, whereas the Western tradition is all about the very structure, that is the reason, truth, and persuasion is what they're talking about. And many times the truth happens to be just fact, which is a fragment of reality. When you realize in the analogy, everybody switches on the torchlight and then find they are in a room. That is a realization. That is truth. Whereas switching on a beam of light and finding a part of the room and then thinking that so far as the room is just a fact, it's a fragment of reality, right? Many times truth in the Western logic happens to be just fact of the truth or a fact of reality, okay, which is not same as truth or satya. And uh, in Nyaya, debating is a moral discipline. It's an ethical or a disciplined path to find the truth, to discover truth. Whereas in the Western tradition, the debating often seen as a rhetorical skill. Right? It's cleverness. It's a reasoning method. You got to be super good at it, so that you can put forward your point of view. So there's a lot of focus on the structure of logic. Nothing invalid about it, but it's just a rhetorical skill. Why it is a moral discipline in Nyaya tradition? Because you see that Nyaya is used even in Vedanta. Okay, it is pramana. So Nyaya has another uh, term called pramana mimamsa, or the study of the sources of knowledge, right? And it requires a method, a structure, and it is an ethical discipline to find the truth about the world, the truth about yourself. So therefore, it is a moral discipline. It's much more than rhetorical skill. And goal is liberation, moksha, atyantika dukkha nivaranam. That is the definition. What it means is to eliminate the dukkha is the goal of nyaya. And here in the Western tradition, the knowledge or to find knowledge for knowledge's sake, or political conviction or social conviction, to prove which you need a Western logic systems. Here we do respect the Shabda as a valid pramana, but in the Western tradition, it rejects authority-based arguments. It's called the fallacy of authority. Okay, and it can be valid because you cannot keep on moving, from instead of proving, you keep on bringing the authority. My authority said so. My authority said so. It's a fallacy of authority, right? Misusing authority because you don't know how to reason. Therefore, you bring in authority. That's a fallacy, and that authority is not universally accepted, and it's not part of your shared reality. Therefore, it is considered fallacy of authority. And in Nyaya, we emphasize fallacies, the doshas, as ethical violations, not just logic errors. That is also super important. And we did talk about the type of nigrahasthanas, which are categorized as personal attacks, self-contradiction, faulty reasoning, and this faulty knowledge, jnana dosha, hetu dosha, atma dosha, and upalambha. And upalamba is easiest to find. when a personal attack happens, it is a defeat. But you don't need to get angry about that thing. When a person is attacking you instead of the idea, you can clearly see that that person is losing an argument. It's a defeat position. It's a nigrahasthana. And self-contradiction. So they deny you their own claims, or directly or indirectly. So that is also easier to identify. But as you go down this pyramid, the method of identification is more and more difficult. Okay, when it comes to the most pratigna dosha, the very first claim, the major, the starting premise, if that itself is wrong, everything else is wrong, but it's hard to identify in others or in ourselves. In Nyaya, we call that as, the one when we use Nyaya for our means to find or pramanas for others, it's parartha jnanam to pursue the knowledge for others, and also swartha jnanam to pursue the knowledge for ourselves. In both cases, the pratigna dosha can happen. And so we did talk about this structure as well, but and then yeah, we talked about the problem with some of the categories and the modern examples, and yeah, thesis level, that is the pratigna dosha, reasoning level, that the hetu dosha, and knowledge level errors, that is jnana dosha, and self-defeating conduct, atma dosha, and the speech distraction. And all of these had examples. And also we touched upon jati, if lost work, why does crime exist, and certain misleading objections, which is called sophistry. All right. So today we need to focus a little more on the types of fallacies. One type is called hetva bhasa, hetu abhasa, and jati, chala. Hetva bhasa is actually the reasoning fallacy, the logical fallacy. It's defect in reasoning itself. Jati is the wrong objection in debate. Chala is about misuse of opponent's words. So they're all not types of vada, but they're all types of another type. As you could see, it was, if you remember back here, yeah, you see that chala, jati, nigrahasthana, they're all of the type of competitive debate. That is when the very intent is about victory. That is when these errors will, you know, when if these errors are happening, or the fallacies are occurring, you can conclude that the type of debate is actually jalpa, the competitive debate. This is how you're mapping. You observe another person's victory orientation, quibbling or misinterpretation of words, or sophistical refutation, or false logic. You can come to the conclusion that the debating type is jalpa. Vitanda is very easy to identify. It only seeks to destroy the opponent's view. You that the person who is doing it very well, he can be very good at it. That person's view will not have his own position, because the intent is to destroy the other. Okay. So
Rudrasenji had a question in the chat.
yeah, just a minute. I'm just let's do the case study and then we'll come back to questions. Please hold on to that thing. Okay. So yeah, so yeah, the purpose of Hetva is to prove the opposite. Okay. And the nature of jati, it's a debating trick. So the Hetva is actually a logical defect in reasoning, whereas jati is a debating trick used to defeat the opponent. Chala is the word play, keep changing the twist on what was intended. If suppose the person is debating, oh, the swords entered the warfield, and the person who objects says, "Oh, swords are not human beings to walk and come to the warfield." You're wrong. So, you it's an example, but you do see that they just instead of the intended meaning, they would latch on to the a dictionary meaning and then try to defeat the person. So intention is willfully denied. They say that, oh, I don't understand your intent. You have to be very articulative about that thing. So just not the dictionary meanings are what we can actually latch on to. So they are playing on words, twisting the words, and then finding their own meanings. So that's a word play quibble, okay, called chala. So this is what we're going to be focusing on. Ashwin Mahodaya, can you play that video? It's about 5 minutes, and just observe the structure of logic, and we'll listen. No, once we start the dialogue, so we'll come to each one of you and then understand more about your points of view. Now, just please watch the video and then express your opinions. Rudasenji, YouTube. Yeah, I'll. You can take the. You can share the screen.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, just listen to her speech on TED and just observe her logic and the way of presenting and the structure of her presentation. I can't hear anything. No, no audio.
No audio. No audio.
Yes, no, I can. Yeah, I'll stop sharing maybe if that helps.
Oh, there was no audio.
No, I can. No, I can.
Okay, okay,
No, no audio from the play from the video.
okay, okay. Let me again
Yeah.
share. Is there audio?
I can, yeah, I can hear your voice, but not the audio.
Okay, one second. I think let me try this one. I think now I'll get it.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. Share audio tab. Yeah.
Oh, so maybe that's what I need to do.
Oh, presenting audio. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Minority or
Can you hear now?
Yes, go full screen.
I was sitting in my Islamic class
Is it
one day
okay?
when the topic of Muslims living abroad came up. Throughout the conversation, someone brought up the point that Muslims feel more in touch with their religious identity when they're a
Is there audio?
minority or when they're in a country where their religion is not the mainstream. This immediately caught my attention and sparked this question in my mind. Do Muslims feel more in touch with their religious identity when they're in a non-Muslim country, or any religion for that matter? So, upon coming up with this question, I knew that in order to answer it, I'd have to dig into my own experiences living abroad. So that's what I did. Before I moved to the US, I was living here, in Saudi, where I just existed. I never really felt like I had to prove myself to anyone, or like I owed anyone an explanation for who I was because I was the same as everyone else. I never once had to question my identity or my beliefs or the way I dressed because it was reflected all around me. I never once thought twice about my identity. That all changed, however, when I moved to the middle of Texas, a place so utterly different from anything I'd ever known, with people who shared completely different beliefs and ideas from myself and my family. So, after years of not thinking twice about my religious identity, in Texas, it was constantly in question. Not necessarily in a bad way, but people just wanted to know. My religion was foreign to them, and so, understandably, they had questions. Due to all of this, suddenly my identity completely shifted. In Saudi, I was known as the tomboy, the goody two-shoes, but now in Texas, I was known as the Muslim. I was known as the girl whose mom wore a scarf around her head, the girl who at first didn't know what Christmas was. And so, in order to answer everyone's questions, I knew that I had to really think twice about my religious identity. So I started doing research on my own. I started asking my mom questions, anything to prove myself. Because when you move away, the beliefs that you were raised with, in most instances your religion, are the one thing that you have to carry with you at all times, wherever you go. And so what I found is you cling on to them and you wrap yourself around them like a blanket in order to feel more at home. The leading article in this topic by John W. Barry, titled Immigration, Acculturation, and Adaptation, presents 4 different acculturation strategies. These are strategies in which cultural groups and their individual members must cope with the issue of how to acculturate, which is basically how to fit into a new society or new environment. The first acculturation strategy is assimilation, and this is when individuals completely neglect their original cultural or religious identity and assimilate themselves into a new one. The second strategy is separation, and this is when individuals actually cling on to their cultural and religious identity and avoid contact with anyone else. The third and most preferable one is integration, which is when individuals continue to practice their own faith, however they open themselves up to the wider society and incorporate different beliefs and ideas into their own culture. The fourth one is marginalization, and this is when individuals, largely due to discrimination or exclusion reasons, are shut out of a society due to no fault of their own. So, looking at this diagram, where would you put yourself? Imagine you had just moved to a completely new environment and try to imagine where you would place yourself. So, growing up in the US, the older I got, the stronger the sense of my identity became. Although there was and still is so much stigma associated with Islam, I was proud to be who I was, and I wore that on my sleeve. Part of that pride came from my mother, who modeled for me the integration strategy. She taught me how important it was to continue to practice my own faith, but to never shut myself out from any other ideas. She always told me, as long as you respect yourself and your religion, others will come to respect you. And that was really integral in shaping my identity and who I am. Because when you move to a foreign country, you have to seek out opportunities to practice your own faith. They're not just granted to you. You have to make time to pray. You have to fast during work or school. Just anything that comes along with being a Muslim, just project it out into the open. So after going through this whole process and learning about all the different acculturation strategies, I started to wonder, why is it that so many people assimilate? Why is it that so many people are so ashamed or uncomfortable to continue to practice their own faith in uncomfortable environments, while others do it openly and freely? I came to the conclusion that really, It's all about your upbringing and your perspective. Especially now in our day and age of technology and social media, we're always made to feel like we have to glorify others. Or we're made to feel like if we don't look or act like the people on the TV, then that means we're weird or we're different in a bad way. And this is not true and has to change. No one should ever feel too ashamed or weirded out to continue to be in touch with their identity and express their faith in new environments. So, today I'll leave you with this question. How are we all going to make sure that the next generation and that the people around us integrate instead of assimilate? Thank you.
All right. So hope you all listen to this thing. And anyone wants to go first? So you had a question, Rudra Senji?
Yes, it was more earlier on. I was trying to see because obviously we are, fed with a lot more on the Western side. So I wanted to map that part of thinking ground up. But you can answer that whenever you want. I mean,
Yeah. So let's come back to this video in particular. The question is, how do you find this speech or talk presentation? The girl's speech. What is the structure? Just focus on the structure of her presentation. Where do you think? Is it? I know. Is it logical? Is it nice? Was it? How's the clarity? Yeah, well structured, focused, and to the point. Chandra. Yeah. That's good observation.
It appealed to the human part. That is, we all want to be as humans accepted. So it had a big appeal element all the way through.
See, the girl spoke so well. Yeah, very, very well trained. Okay. Yes. Yeah, but what about the human element? I like that part, and the structure. I like that part. And how does she organize her speech? Does she make a is it does she identify the problem first?
Yeah, she does identify the problem.
And how does she identify the problem? Through a personal story or a generic story?
Personal
story.
So it's even more appealing, like you said. When you actually describe a problem from a point of view that is personal, it is real, it's sincere, it's honest, and the people listen to even more, even better. That's a great way to start. Personal story. Identify the problem through a personal story, and then see, does she make this problem relatable to you, to others?
Yeah. Also, Western culture is individualism. So their preference, which is more of self-based, always says, oh, self before others, self before anything else. And she says, let's go with that angle, which is actually odd because other countries, and especially Islam, is not about the self at all. It is never about what you think or what you feel. You are irrelevant. However, in this case, because she's presenting in America or a Western country, she's well aware that you must appeal to the ego or the identity of an individual. Everything must be repackaged and presented from that lens for that Western viewpoint consumption.
My God, you read between the lines. It's amazing. Great insight. Thank you, Dasenji. Great insight. Yes. Look at the strength of the other and find it there. And then how do you use it? Amazing, right? Personal story. And identifying the problem. By connecting to her experience. And then making the problem universal. that is relatable to you, and positioning the argument within the context of the Western world, right? The respect for individual opinion or the individuality, individualism. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
To me, it was a short and succinct, very well presented talk, but it avoids
Oh, yeah.
any
On the positive side.
challenges.
Yes, Mahodaya. So you hold on to you'll get it. And anyone else on the positive note? So the Chandra Nalagolji added a but. So I know something important is coming.
She
Yeah.
left the audience with a question, right?
Oh yes.
Decision. So
Oh.
that's also something to make the people think.
Like
So-
calling action. Yeah, making any
Correct.
question actually sort of triggers the brain. Yeah, that
Right.
she was very good. She made a heartful connection. She appealed to the heart, the hearts of the audience, right? And then she asks a question. Okay. And that it makes them think. Sort of action is a call for action. Okay.
Or that she's she doesn't she's not afraid of saying I'm a Muslim and I had this identity. So she keeps repeating that, saying that nah, here I have to make efforts
Mhm.
to practice my religious identity, my religious belief.
Yes.
She's not afraid of talking about it. She said
Mhm.
that that's important.
The healthy sense of self-esteem, right? That came
Yeah.
through. Yeah. Okay.
I also
I mean,
felt
to be very honest, how many Hindus would do that?
Yes.
I say
Yeah.
in open that hey, I have to practice my Hinduism. But,
Yeah. So
but she is
when you
very,
listen to some of the debates, and I was listening to some of the debates and some speeches by Bobby Jindalji. And that was 11 years back. And he talks about it and then saying that his parents are super proud of the Indian heritage and all of that. But his point is we have to assimilate, because when we come to any other country like the United States, so what is the nature of the country? Now, it's assimilation. That is how you actually maintain the fabric of society. And that is how you connect to the locals. And that's how you grow as a person and live the American dream. Okay. So that was his point of view. And I'm sure many would follow that too, the assimilation part. All right. So any other viewpoint? So
Dinesh,
Darshan,
you have a question.
many probably people don't articulate how Bobby Jindal spoke on that thing, but I'm sure they buy that argument. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes, please, Dinesh ji.
नमस्ते श्रीनी जी, नमस्ते अश्विन जी, बीसी जी, सबको नमस्ते। बहुत टाइम हो गया
हाँ।
सभी को मिले तो आनंद हुआ। और मैं यहाँ पे किसी को हिंदी में वो नहीं है ना कि समझ में नहीं आएगा।
मुझे तो समझ में आता है।
नहीं, अपने आपको तो आता ही है, लेकिन कोई दूसरे है जिसको हिंदी 100% समझ में नहीं आए, ऐसा तो कोई नहीं ना?
मिक्स करके बोल दीजिए।
क्या?
मिक्स करके बोल दीजिए।
हाँ, मैं ट्राई करूंगा ना। तो फर्स्ट अब थोड़ा सा क्वेश्चन किस डायरेक्शन में हम डिस्कशन कर रहे थे, थोड़ा बताओ।
सकारात्मक तरीके से आपको डिबेट कैसा लगा, आपका प्रेजेंटेशन कैसा लगा लड़की का?
अच्छा, अरे सॉरी, मैं उसमें कुछ नहीं कह सकता क्योंकि मुझे तो मालूम, मैंने प्रेजेंटेशन ही नहीं देखा।
अच्छा okay. all right.
Dinesh ji joined just after the presentation.
हाँ, मैं लेट ज्वाइन किया, सॉरी।
Okay. Yeah, all right. So we're actually discussing on the positive aspects of the debate.
Yeah, आप कंटिन्यू।
One
So
thing
technology, there could be, but I don't think the only thing that was very articulated and pretty good was an interview with Bobby Jindal on the same topic. And I think multiculturalism, I mean, Shashita talks about it all the time, and you can get a better pro multicultural kind of person there. But I think Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, insists on assimilation from his own position. Pretty strong arguments there. And Hindu person, I think Bobby Jindal, whose parents have to be, the parents are Hindus, and then they still cherish Hindu heritage, and he has converted, and that was supported by his parents. He talks about that. Okay, so that's actually that is the Hindu view, is what I saw in general. Okay.
So one thing I found, Mahoday, is the girl said that she's thinking of society as dynamic and not static, and that is why things change. And she's bringing her point of view,
Yeah.
thinking that societies are dynamic, people are intelligent.
Mhm.
That I like the point of view that that is her starting position. Yeah.
Ajay Shastriji says Jay Sai Deepak speaks very well about. Oh, absolutely, no doubt about that. Yeah. So that, I mean, his speeches are about it. I mean, so they cover very, very different aspects, both legality and philosophy. So he comes in both directions, and that's pretty good. Yes, recommend.
One observation during the girl's speech was she was actually presenting in Saudi. I picked that up. She said, like, here in Saudi is what she said. So I don't know how it'll be in this day and age if she talks in an open TED here in the US. Maybe it's still fine. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's that you're talking about the societal window, the Overton window, right? Whether it is acceptable at this point. Yeah, that's always a fair question, and being context sensitive, environment sensitive. Yeah, that's part of wisdom. Okay, all right, Chandramohan. So you said a but. I want to hear.
Yeah. So the but part was the talk only focuses on the positive aspects. It does not talk about, hey, you can do the integration, you can retain the religious identity as long as it is not contradictory to the society, right? I mean, she just completely avoids, hey, I'm proud to continue on with my Muslim identity, but the baggage, I mean, anything else, right? I mean, it's not just unique to Muslim identity, right? It may be anything else. If it completely runs counter to the society, the target society, destination society, that part is that whole discussion point is avoided, because it's just a very very positive tone, and the other tone is sidestepped in my mind. At least that's a lacking to me. I mean, there is always like a pro and con. The con was simply, the con column was completely eliminated, and you have a very succinct, sweet talk, and you get claps and you walk away, right?
What an insight. Yeah. Okay, Moses, that is wonderful. So how do we articulate the position? So if you were to say it from our framework point of view, right? Our framework was what? I mean, if you are in doubt, bring in Ruta, Satya, and Dharma, right? So I guess you did that, right? So to see whether it matches with Satya, the truth, whether that follows Rhythm, the order of reality. Does it follow the social order? That is that following, is it in compliance with the legal, the ethical, and the legal order, the ethical order, the social order, or in fact the order that is enshrined in the Constitution, as well as the sustainability? Is it right? So many things happened there, I know. Yeah. But so you were doing all of that, right? To
Yes,
because
yes.
the
So
structure,
if you look at the,
yeah,
I mean, if you look at the overall structure of society, long-term sustenance is what dharma is, right?
yes,
Will this continuation of identity, is it in accordance or not? That whole conversation did not happen.
I think Chandran Nalagolji actually he finished the class. Okay. I don't have to say anything more. Yes, that's it. That is where we're trying to come to the conclusion. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, and DCG. Yeah.
I think the question of integration versus assimilation, questioning or pushing for people to make a decision
Mhm.
itself is very persuasive, in the fact that it's the self identification is sort of like being pushed over to
Mhm.
make only these decisions. Like there are a lot of people in the middle, they don't know which way to go. I mean, that's the whole point of this argument, is pushing the personal agenda to sort of educate and bring awareness to kind of push through the whole thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, like it was said earlier, there's no, it's the religion itself is about the groupism or group mentality.
Yes.
Entirely, it's baseless in terms of like putting in individuality to make a decision. It's completely not Islam, right?
See, we talked about the differences, the core differences between the dharmic side, right, the Nyaya side, and then the Western logic systems. And in the Western logic system, we said rhetoric is important, the structure and the connection between your premise and conclusion should be strong. Rhetoric, rhetoric, rhetoric. And how was her rhetoric? Amazing, right?
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. I
That
mean,
is,
the
that
structured
is
delivery,
yes,
hit all the points of the Western or the Greek
yeah.
methodology.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, it's a well trained
Very well.
delivery mechanism,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. DCG, sorry, Dinesh ji.
अरे सॉरी, वो किसी हमारे को कोई एक भाई ने बताया ना कि क्या हम हिंदुइज्म प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, वो इस्लाम को प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, बराबर? तो अगर किसी को आइडिया है, इफ एनीवन नोज दैट ओके व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ प्रैक्टिसिंग हिंदुइज्म, तो हिंदुइज्म को क्या, हिंदुइज्म प्रैक्टिस करना मतलब क्या, तो किसी को कुछ मालूम है तो प्लीज शेयर.
Yeah, practicing. You want to touch upon the topic just 30 seconds? Rudra Singh.
It's a big thing. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me sum up.
Maybe 4 or 5 bullet points.
On the spot. Okay.
Yeah. 30-second talk on Sanatan Dharma. Everything. Come on. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
और
Maybe,
कई दूसरे टाइम भी रख सकते हैं.
Dinesh ji, I think one of the big principles in Sanatan Dharma is universality. I feel like जो हिंदू होता है वो जो एक ही तत्व है सब में वो ढूंढता है. तो जब भी बात करेगा वो ऐसा नहीं बोलेगा मैं हिंदुइज्म प्रैक्टिस कर रहा हूँ, ये मेरी जगह है, ये मेरा स्थान है, आप बाहर रहिए, आप अपने स्थान में रहिए, मैं मेरे स्थान में रहूंगा. वो हिंदू हमेशा बोलेगा कि जो अल्लाह है वही ईश्वर है, वही कृष्ण है, वही क्राइस्ट है. I was listening to a talk by Sarvapriyananda who spoke about a specific verse on Kshetradnya idam to Krishna, and he says about what is Ishwar and the Atma, and Sarvapriyananda quickly then jumps to say that is the very Allah and Jesus and the God and Krishna and Ram and all of that combined. So Hinduism will always pivot to Satya and the universality. So they will just transcend this whole identity politics and get there. So sorry, I mean, this was out of not at this level, but I find this perpetual arc of them trying to move upwards when making that. So they don't get into debate. But another point I wanted to make was coming back to the person who was making it is this country, most Western countries have religious protection because of separation from state, religion and state as a secular thing. So there is a certain architecture on where they say, well, we're going to separate these two and we're going to get boxes for
थोड़ा हिंदी
religion.
में
हाँ, तो यहाँ पे ना जो भी वेस्टर्न आप देश में जाएंगे, उन्होंने धर्म और जो व्यवस्था है, गवर्नमेंट है, उसको अलग कर दिया है और बोला कि चर्च, सेपरेशन ऑफ चर्च एंड स्टेट। ये पहले क्रिश्चियनिटी से प्रॉब्लम था, इसीलिए उन्होंने बनाया है। तो उन्होंने बोला कि सबको आरक्षण मिलेगा, एक अपना स्थान मिलेगा अपनी आइडेंटिटी रखने के लिए। उसी में तुमको जो करना है उसमें करो, हमको कुछ लेना ही देना नहीं है। तो उस विचारधारा में करते हैं। तो इस लड़की ने, this girl, she articulated it to fit within that design also, that I have an identity, I have I have this individuality, मुझे सेफ रहना है, मुझे बचना है, तो प्लीज मेरा जो डिब्बा है, accept my little box, right? Although it's misrepresentation, because Islam doesn't work like that.
Yes.
Islam just cuts across everything.
All right. So we have to bring in another Rita, Satya, and Dharma, and we'll start to bringing it in. But we'll go back to our slides, see where to. What are the other different types of logical fallacies? Is there an ethical fallacy? Ethical fallacy is different from logical fallacy. You don't find logical fallacy there in the debates. Ethical fallacy, and we have. Is there a compliance to Satya and Dharma? We got to explore that thing. For that thing, we got to get back to Nyaya and see how Nyaya is layered and how it is structured. Let's come back on that one again. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Right. So now go back to.
अच्छा श्रीनी जी, सिर्फ एक ये मेरा दिमाग में ख्याल आया कि हम जो इन नॉलेज का बारे में हम डिस्कशन करते हैं, हम जो इसका चर्निंग होता है हमारे माइंड में, सब कुछ ये होता है, तो कुछ ऐसा भी हम साथ में ऐसा कुछ कर सकते हैं कि इसमें से प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन हम हमारे जीवन में क्या रख सकते हैं, क्या कर सकते हैं, उसके लिए कुछ थोड़ा टाइम, पूरा 1 आवर में से, या ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है क्या?
हाँ, करेंगे।
क्योंकि अगर जब तक कुछ लाइफ में एप्लीकेशन में नहीं आएगा, हमें मालूम हो जाता है, बराबर, मालूम होने के बाद अगर लाइफ में एप्लीकेशन में नहीं आएगा तो फिर वो ऐसे ही रह जाएगा उधर। और जब हम, किसी ने जो बोला ना, प्रैक्टिसिंग करते हैं क्या हिंदुइज्म, तो मुझे उससे
धर्म ज्ञाने उत प्रयोगे इति, ज्ञान में है, प्रयोग में धर्म कहाँ है? Dharma Jnane Uta Prayoge is a very, it's a big topic discussed in Mahabharata all the way to Patanjali's, Mahabhashyam and all of these texts. But, yes, practice is super important. But we'll come back to that thing, because the very fact that the entire Mimamsa, is all about karma, the action, and how it needs to be practiced, because they see action as part of rhythm.
Yes, क्योंकि जब तक ज्ञान आचरण में नहीं आएगा तब तक ज्ञान का कोई अर्थ नहीं है.
The distance between achara and the vichara, and the distance between knowing and doing, that should be brought. There should not be any gap. So will that is Ramayana for us. Just will come back at some point. But here it is. So I was trying to see if there is a mapping between Nyaya and Nigrahasthanas in the Western fallacy. There are some things, for example, pratignyahanihi, or it's called dropping the claim, changing the claim, false reasoning, irrelevant reasoning, no evidence, a vague source, word twisting. All of that have parallels. For example, you can say Western fallacies identifies that as moving the goalpost, equivocation, false causes, non sequitur, that is irrelevant reason, bare assertion without any evidence, and appeal to anonymous authority. Also, it's very, 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 very common. Appeal to anonymous authority. He has published, so and so, but therefore that is true. Harvard research says. How does a villager would know Harvard research? And straw man, equivocation ad hominem. So that is, upalambha, what we called. So you're right. Do you mean legally or socially? And lots and lots of word twisting, but the Western logic framework is all about, is the argument invalid? Now, if you prove it is invalid, then it falls flat. But Nyaya is all about, has the speaker lost the right to continue the debate? Now, That is the question where no matter how many logical points they meet, the other side meets, if you are not asking the question of the Ruta, Satya, and Dharma compliance, you are not going to find it easily. That's the whole point.
Uh, can you
Yeah.
give us a quick example, please? I am to orient us the Rita Satya, what you just said. What will be a simple one example for the word?
Using the example, or okay, so I don't know how when you joined. We just started.
No, just one slide back. You were saying that for anything to have validity, it should conform to that tripartite. So what would be
Oh,
an example of that?
one simple example is, let's say I am at an intersection, and there is it's through an analogy. Okay, uh, if cars move in opposite directions at the same time, the same place, there will be collision. And if so that is the social order or the rhythm, and two things cannot be at the same place at the same time, right? Or one thing cannot be at the same time, the same place. And there are certain hard facts of reality. And if they come in opposite direction, collision is inevitable. And if I defy that order, that becomes unrhythm. And if I do not believe that cars can come in opposite directions and still they just pass through each other, so that is unrhythm.
Imagine being able to build and just by thinking about it. Meet Face 44, a complete AI creation platform.
Sorry, some noise.
A stark warning from one of India's most respected tech voices is now sparking a concerning debate.
Oh, I hear background noise. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So that is unrhythm when you and if I believe that fire does not burn, and then try to we always see fire burns, and if I try to say that fire does not burn, so that is unrhythm. It is trying to go against the order of reality. As soon as there is light, I see. As soon as there is light, I do not see, is unrhythm. Right? So there is always there is a certain order in which there is niyata sahacharya, or there is some kind of a invariable relationship. It doesn't wait. That relationship to cause and effect is there in the real world. If I try to defy that, if I try to, I can only sense it, but the moment I recognize it, it is the truth. It is satya. Is that clear? Or not clear?
Yes,
right?
yes.
So there is one more example that we gave here, right? So this is the
Right.
traffic example that I don't know if you were there in the class or not.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, I got the context of what you're saying now. Thank you.
Order of
Right,
reality.
right. Got
Seeing the right action. And again, Rita is the
Right.
river, the current, and then everybody comes to the conclusion, oh, there's no current, you can swim. They all
Yes.
lie because through either majority voting or peer reviews. Peer reviews said so. Okay, and there is the boy jumps into it, still struggles, and then dies. The only dharma is to build a bridge. That is in conformance to Satya and to the rhythm. So this is the point.
Got
Because
it.
everybody is logical in their own context, which we cannot identify. And if they follow the rules of logic, simply tarka is enough.
Yeah, you can do tarka about anything.
And do it again. And yeah. So the Nyaya took the position like this. This is not taken. Reality is ordered. Reasoning must also be ordered. That is the position of Nyaya. Okay, and therefore reasoning has to be dharma. It is to find the truth, not to win an argument. And so they put it in the dharmic context. So let's come to this, and we talked about the types of fallacies. Hetwabhasa is a reasoning fallacy, and jati is just a verbal victory. And chala is finding some fault, or even it could be minor, but still turning against the opponent. You do see jati and chala all the time. That was the point. And Hetwabhasa does occur, but it's somewhat difficult to find it. Okay? And I think in all three cases, this girl won. And look at this. Okay. So we did talk about Western, the Nigrahasthanas, and coming to Jati, or how do we actually violate Dharma here? Because ethical conduct is the identification in Jati. And if ethical conduct errors, how do you find it? So that person would be using false analogies or comparisons. Think about it for a while. And there could be fallacies in inferencing, okay, which is false conditions or unfounded reason. And there are many other types like that thing, but we'll come back and then we'll have to visit it again and again through case studies. It happens in all the Shastras, so don't worry that if you cannot know everything in one class. But there is also, how do you find there is jati? This verbal and contextual misuse. It can be a fanciful argument, slightly go off topic. Overgeneralization. If I'm using the context of individual identity and using it to support my argument, can you find it? The contextual misuse. That is where, there are fanciful arguments like what you saw, off topic, overgeneralization, false equivalence. All cultures are same. They do not harm each other. They all can coexist. And also there's misapplication. You can use an extremely strong logic and then prove your point. It's taking somebody else's strong point and then prove yours is also true because you use that kind of argument. And the rhythm or the satya could be different. And contradictions and absurdities. So momentary logic. For that moment, it won't be sustainable the very next day because the examples will be contradicting. But still, that momentary logic wins in certain debates. And flawed examples, drishtanta. I mean, you don't even agree such a thing. Actually, you believing in something in contradictory to the evidence. And drishtanta means you and I both should know that example is true. But even then, I use an example or deny such an example at all, and then simply move it away from the category. Right? Such and such a thing is not a real X. Oh, that person actually belonged to the group X, and he did something horrible because it is there in the very tenet of X. And this person goes, no, that is not real X. No. Yeah, because the proportion is less. The idea of proportionality, that will be brought in and then logically argued. Okay. And also self-contradictions. All these are considered not logic errors in Nyaya. They are considered that they violate dharma. It is an ethical error. Chala, vak chala. For example, in the very famous example, in Sanskrit, the word saindhava means horse as well as salt. Saindhava manaya. When you say that thing, and the person, even though the soldier knows that, what does the soldier mean? Soldier means saindhava manaya, bring the horse. But the person brings salt, saying that it means salt too, therefore I brought salt. What did the person do? He did not understand or willfully negated the context. When a soldier is asking for a horse, you can bring salt because he's going. I mean, why would he need salt in the war field? It willful to be willfully ignorant of the context, deliberately act, not to understand the intended meaning, but to quibble on the dictionary meaning, which can happen all the time. Right? And figurative quibble or upachara chala, pretending the metaphorical speech is literal and rejecting it. Haven't you seen that thing? This student is a lion in debate. Humans can't be lions, therefore your use is false argument. There is something called Hanuman. I haven't seen a person who actually flies like that. Or I mean, there's no such thing as Pushpaka Vimana. Therefore, the whole Ramayana is untrue. Well, it doesn't matter, right? Whether it is Pushpaka Vimana or auto rickshaw, kidnapping is kidnapping. There is Bhava Satyam, meaning the jealousy or the unbounded desires of Ravana exist 10,000 years back or 5,000 years back or even now. The jealousy of Duryodhana exists then and even now. The epics are written to bring you the Bhava Satyam, not Vastava Satyam. Not those conditions will keep changing from time to time, but still, metaphors and even the atishayoktis, or what we call certain hyperbole, they are brought in to compare with the conditions now and then say, oh, it's all untrue. So using language or comparing with completely realistic view of things, the student is not a lion. Therefore, what you say is true. Humans cannot be lions. So this is completely deflecting the argument. That is upachara chala, generalization quibble, samanya chala, forcing an overgeneral expression to a false universal scope. Fire burns, one would say. But the fire in the painting does not burn. Therefore, what you say is untrue. That happens actually. If you look at that example and the context, they change the context and blur the difference between artistic painting and realistic cause and effect, and then trying to prove that the cause and effect does not occur in the painting. Therefore, what you say, fire burns, is untrue. Okay. So changing the context. And so what's the time now? Oh, it's 8:15. Anyone has any point at this point before we move to Hetva Bhasa? Yeah.
I had a question on this. So the examples that you've given so far are generally speeches, right? These are one-way dialogues where the speaker is presenting an idea, but he's using many different arguments on how to do it. Now, there is Satya in some of them, there is Jala in some of them, then there is within the there is a compilation of all three arguments. Is the emphasis that we need to identify each one of these features in their speech, or is it better to just basically look at an actual debate, right? Like where the presenter makes a certain argument and then is it better to go that route to identify these different ways of the argument?
So in a very, very rigorous logical debate, it's better to know and to name the errors of the opponent, or to know it so that you are not going to be doing the same thing. Because if you know it, there are two things are occurring. One is you do know the faults of the other person's argument, because you have to know the. Have you heard of the Swayambodh and Chaturbodh and all of that? Or
no.
No. Okay. How about Purva Paksha, Uttara Paksha, and all that?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I'm not.
So Purva Paksha is first you got to establish the other's viewpoint first. And in the very first class, I talked about uh, a Nyaya scholar was actually asked to debate. That was Naishadhiya Charita Maharsha. Okay, Sri Harsha. He was asked to debate the Mimamsaka.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
Buddhists. And
Yeah.
they asked him to first speak from our side, better than us. Then we can because you're so good. If I speak and you refute, you are unbelievably good. You're going to destroy me. Okay. But I do believe that I have the truth. Okay. So let's do this thing. I agree that you are an excellent logician, excellent Nyaya scholar. So you support me. Take my viewpoint, support it. Okay, write and debate. And then you refute yourself. When you do that from your point of view, without misrepresenting my point of view, then I agree that you have the truth. He wins it. So how could he do that thing? He knew the weaknesses or the nigrahasthanas of the opponent side. And if you know the nigrahasthanas, if you know the hetva bhasa, if you know what is chala, what is vitanda, and all of these types of debates and errors, then you can present the argument in the most cohesive, truthful way, and then show that, hey, this is where it was not in compliance with Satya, Dharma, and Ritam. That is how he won the debate. So that's why knowing and naming the errors would not only create self-awareness, but actually your position will be strengthened. How can so there was a question I see. Hold on. Let me read. How can Purva Paksha be done unless the opponent's argument is known? No, I didn't understand the question.
It's known beforehand. So if
Yeah.
we are, I want to do that, I'll have to be so knowledgeable to understand what is this opponent going to present, right? Or could you explain how it will be done? Because if I don't hear what they are about to say, I'm coming into a debate. How could I do it? I mean, unless it's presented in a brief and I read both sides.
You have, for us, a Vidwan was called Bahushruta Vidwan. Bahushruta, not Bahupatita. It's not about just simply reading from newspapers, this and that. Shruta, one who heard from the experts of those opponent viewpoints. Shruta, Bahushruta Vidwan. So he knows all the Purva Paksha side. He heard from the experts, the Aptavakyas. And he did not strawman an argument. He steelmans it. He strengthens the opposition side in the most sincere and a truthful way so that do not deflect. You cannot minimize Buddha's viewpoint and then attack it. You cannot minimize somebody else's book and then, take the weakest part and attack it. For example, you see Zakir Naik's debate and see what happens there. It's all straw man. Did Ganesha know, did Shiva know that Ganesha had a head transplantation? He did not know. And he did not know because he killed him, not knowing. So therefore he's not a god. Haven't you heard that? So this is called straw manning, it taking things literally. Right. So does he know the Purva Paksha? But they're like 20,000 people, 30,000 people sitting and listening to him, Zakir Naik, right? So that's an example of not understanding the Purva Paksha. Or even when you know Purva Paksha, you, instead of steel manning it, you straw man it, like making a man out of a straw and then attacking it. That is called straw man. Okay, so you got to be very honest in the to represent the Purva Paksha and then attack it. That's yes. So thorough knowledge of opponents is a very high bar. Yes, it is not always possible. Therefore, that is why you got to learn the chala and the vitanda too.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
It
cannot
will
know.
eliminate 99%, 99.99% humanity like this. Because only the best will qualify. Absolute best.
I did want to ask you in Rudrasenaji's question, if you know, if you watch any of these legal shows, right? They will say, oh, if the defense is presenting, they'll say, oh, the prosecution is going to paint my witness. So they will make the argument on how the prosecution is presenting that case, or vice versa, and then they'll say, oh, but this thing. So would that be straw manning the argument? But because they are presenting what the prosecution will actually say, that they will give a defense against that position.
All of the legal argument is not to find the truth.
Yeah.
Any
It's-
legal argument.
It's not even straw manning. It's pushing bias. It's very emotionally manipulative, saying, look what he's doing. He's manipulating you emotionally, while you are manipulating that other person emotionally, saying,
It could be. Yes. All I have
nothing
to
to do.
say is whether my client has been legal or not. I mean, did he follow the law or not? That is all I got to present. I don't know the truth. I don't know the facts. Right? Many times. Yeah. Because the clients won't tell you the truth many times. He would have murdered, but he would come and then say he'll hire a lawyer, and all that he tells the lawyer is, I never did anything. Protect me. Okay, that happens. And whatever, he'll take him on the face value and present that side. Okay, so it's all about whether somebody follows a law or not. And it's all about finding the niyama, the samaja niyama, the social rule, the compliance to the law, not compliance. This is not about being ethical is different from being legal. You can be legal and still unethical, right? So it's about that. So lawyer's argument, yes, they follow the structure of logic very well, but Nyaya is more into epistemology, ethics as well, not just Tarka. Tarka is only a very small part of it, which is hypothetical reasoning. And within that, we have it. So many times, this hypothetical reasoning, Tarka, becomes the very big thing, like, oh, I don't take an authority, but he is actually, I don't take your authority. He's not an authority for me. But whereas I am following the very fact that Aristotle is an authority for logic, and Aristotle made the arguments for it. But I still follow that Aptavakya. He is an authority. He is the one who laid out all of that. But I'm saying that, I reject all authorities while actually following an authority. It's a self-contradiction. Anyway, it's an ethical error, but you do see the point. Right? Yes, to your point, or to the Senji's point, you cannot know everything about an opponent. It's very, very hard to know everything truthfully because there may not be one. We don't know everything. We have to be erudite. We have to have that extensive knowledge. That effort should be there, and steel man the argument instead of straw manning it, understand it. If it is not possible, you have to know the other methods, chala and vitanda, and all of those types very well, actually, because that will come handy. Okay. All right. Let's see. If there are no questions, may I move on to the next one? Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. Oh, all right. So the next point was more on the hetu abhasa, which is the logical fallacies. It could be savyabhichara. The reason is irregular or deviant. Because the hill has fire because it has smoke. But the objection would be smoke is also found in mist or fog. Okay. There's, but the point is different. It's a deviating reason because something that looks like smoke is actually not smoke. and trying to deflect the meaning that way. So that can be a savya bichara, when people do it while debating or while attacking the other opponent too. Viruddha is the contradictory reasoning. The reason proves the opposite. You know, the sound is permanent because once it is produced, okay, that should be the statement. The being produced actually proves impermanence. Whatever, what they're debating is shabda. Shabda is considered, if shabda is a pramana, right? Somebody literally takes it as a shabda, which is like it's always produced by two solid objects coming together, causing the vibration, and the air molecules move this way, and they touch you here, and then the shabda is over. So it is impermanent. How can shabda be a pramana? Right? It's temporary. Because he is relating it to striking of two objects and not to the aptavakya or the intended meaning of what the Vedas said. Right? So it's trying to make arguments where the impermanence has to be established, therefore it is not a permanent pramana. Asiddha. It's unestablished reason. The reason itself is not established. Our arguing for sky lotus, it is so beautiful. It's so fragrant. Whereas you can't have a lotus in the sky, which is impossible. But still, asiddha arguments can be made, which is logical fallacy. Not, for example, my ideology is to destroy other ideologies. I won't say that thing. Let's give this example, right? But I still argue that my ideology is all great and never said anything bad, but that's not reality. But I'm just arguing, assuming that you would believe my position or my ideology is all good. Then I could be deceiving, but you won't find it because my argument is so structured so well. It's unestablished reason. The reason is not anchored in Satya, Rita, and Dharma. Sat Pratipaksha, counterbalanced reasoning. The reason is contended by an equivalent opposite reason. Sound is eternal. Shabda Nitya Satya. Yeah. Sound is eternal because it is audible. Oh, I can hear that thing. No, it's audible. The counter is sound is not eternal because it is produced. You see, audibility was the Aptavakya is true, and all the context about that the person is true, and what he said is actually audible. The intended meaning is Shabda as a pramana, the expert knowledge is a pramana, but here it goes. Sound is not eternal because it is produced. Once it is produced, it gets destroyed. So counterbalanced reason, Sat Pratipaksha, the defect is it's overruled by the pramana. Such a defect actually is overruled by a pramana. And the 5 types of hetu abhasa, which is deviating the reason, the contradictory reason, unestablished reason, and counterbalanced reason, they can help in very subtle debates or even our own positions while steel manning it or attacking a straw man position. They will be super useful. With that thing, so this session will be ended, and if you have any questions, please go ahead. Is it too dry? Is Nyaya too dry? Because it's got a lot of meta rules.
Is there a way to share the slides with us?
Yes, it is. It's absolutely.
Please.
Yes. Yeah, it's case studies have to be applied, and see, the thing is with Nyaya, there are 24 fallacies. If I say that thing, it's very hard to remember all 24. So we have to group it, meaning categorize it, and these categories should be anchored back to Satya, Ruta, and Dharma, and they are in the slides. They are all anchored back to that thing. So that studying can help. While debating, you cannot remember everything. If you remember, amazing. But the best position is to keep checking with Satya and Rutam. Then only then it becomes dharmic. And that's my observation on that thing. And that's probably the only framework that remains true throughout. Satya, Ruta, Dharma. Keep checking against within that framework. Then things will be easier.
Gee, I have a question. This is on a personal note, but I would rather ask that after the recording stops and after the class.
Yeah, please.
So, namaste, everybody. So, as we conclude today's session, I will after the class we will send the slides deck also, and you can review it at your end. Let us know if any videos are missing. So, thank you, Srini Mahoday, for the wonderful NAS session. And as usual, we had a great interactive session today, class also. So let us conclude with the Shanti mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Pachantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद.